Greetings, listeners. I am your host, Erica Salter, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
every single Tuesday.
It's a whole hour of Santa Barbara teen athletes. Where's the clapping? That's more clapping. And all those people and businesses that support those.
Hey!
When Tom Reed just walks in, man, he's just got power, he's got energy, he's got it all.
That's right. He's got a beard.
That's it. Yeah.
We're like twins, aren't we?
No, he's gonna grab a mic. We're gonna shift mics because when Tom Reed walks in the house,
Give him.
Ed, we're gonna flip him a mic, and then Ed, you can have this mic, and Dee and I are gonna share. Woo! How you doing,
All right.
man?
Oh, good to see you,
You must have got my
Erica.
email.
I did.
I love that.
I did. It's a digital world, and I got your.
Love that.
I actually got
It
it.
was like, I don't know, at 2:50. Anytime I said, "Well, come in at 3:30," just this man is just pops it.
We set a
How are
new
you?
peacetime land speed record.
That's it.
Communication.
And you're, of course, with the Unity Shop, and everything is absolutely perfect and going great, right?
Just about. Yeah.
Nice.
You know, this is probably the most exciting time we've had at Unity, and also one of the most challenging. So it's always kind of a mix of those two, but it's just great fun. Just great fun.
Now you have new location because I know I sent one of my clients down there to you.
Good.
Susan Turner, put your hands
All
together
right,
for Susan
okay.
Turner wants to make a donation.
All
I
right.
love that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, our board has taken the philosophy that it's better to own in Santa Barbara than to rent. And everybody says, "Oh, it's so expensive." And in a word, that's really true. But how expensive is it to lease?
Right.
When you're doing what we do, we got $2 million worth of inventory. You got all the groceries, all the clothes, all the toys at Christmas, all the stuff for Job Smart, and now we've got all this other stuff going on. Seniors, take care of 3,300 seniors. So
Wow.
if we're trying to figure out how to just lease and just keep the cost down, those lease agreements last about 3 years, and then the rent goes up. And you're paying a triple net, so you're paying property taxes, insurance, common area maintenance, all that kind of stuff. And you'll never, ever reduce your fixed overhead on that. Right. But you could if you owned. And it's always more difficult to try to figure that out. But that has been the board's philosophy. So now we've actually purchased 5 buildings since I've been here 17 years. We have 3 now, and we're paying on a monthly basis 76 cents a square foot
Oh, beautiful.
per
Wow.
month.
Yeah.
Now that is kind of magical. It's kind of an accomplishment. And if we get some help to pay those off, it's still, 76 cents times 31,000 square feet, it adds up a little bit. It's manageable, and potentially it can go to zero if you find donors that want to have a naming opportunity or, do something like a legacy, a gift, the wills, bequests, charitable
My name
annuities,
on a
all those
floor
things.
Tile. How about that?
We love
You
the
can
legacy
have your-
planning.
We can have your name out in the parking lot someplace.
I'll
and
give
we,
you 76 cents for 1 square foot.
There you go. Maybe that's the fundraising campaign.
You know what I want to do a little bit here? If it's okay, because now we've gotten past it, we've gotten through it, but I can't say enough of your courage and the nonprofits' assistance and help during the fire and the flood. I mean,
appreciate
because
you bringing
I
that
know
up.
you were affected personally, and it was challenging for Santa Barbara, but I think because of that challenge as a city, probably one of the top 3 greatest cities in the world. Unity, I mean, you bring, you have your leadership and you have its infrastructure and you're bringing people together. I mean, they have a place to feel safe.
That's really true.
Thank you.
And what I think we've learned,
I got to say thank you to everybody now.
Yeah.
Anybody who puts their hand in their pocket to Pallet Unity, we got, and the Elk, sorry, Ed.
Yeah.
And Braille, sorry, Dominique.
Yeah, I don't want to dominate or take a lot of time, but I can tell you when the T Fire Hachicita fire happened in 2008, we were already in discussions, Unity and Red Cross, about putting this thing called VOAD together. No one knew what it was. It's called Volunteer Organizations Active in Disaster. That came about as a result nationally of Hurricane Camille and Katrina, when everyone realized that when the first responders leave, police, fire, and kind of Red Cross, that's all that immediate stuff. It's really up to the community to heal itself, take care of itself. And that's just as you remark, it's the nonprofit community that does that. Who else? And so when the Montecito debris flow happened, and of course trailed right after the Thomas fire, when FEMA came to town. Red Cross National came to town. And Office of Emergency Services from Sacramento came to town. This was a national event, videos all over the world about Santa Barbara. They came and said, gosh, Santa Barbara is one of the best prepared communities in the country because of VOAD, and then Orfalea Foundation started the Office of Emergency Management. They got that big, it's like the Pentagon out there on 192. It's concertina wire and satellite phones and generators, and it's a beautiful facility. What we realized, however, was that as we were trying to figure out how to do disasters and really do a good job, there's an element called case management, capital C, capital M. That's the hand-holding of walking through this impossible situation for somebody who's just lost a family member, or all their possessions, and their tools and their cars, or a whole bunch that lost their jobs. Or in the ones that were evacuated for 3 weeks, thought they'd be gone for 3 days, and didn't have the emergency reserves to kind of handle hotels for that long, and then jobs went away. So Unity stepped up, as did 4 or 5 other agencies, to say, we'll help with this case management thing. So we hired people, and we did the professional training, best practices nationally, all that. And it's complicated. There's no doubt about it, and I don't think we've figured it out yet. And especially when the funds came in, millions of dollars got donated toward that. I don't know that anybody really knows where it's all gone, which is really disturbing. We were promised to be reimbursed for what we did so that we can keep doing it. We robbed every program we had for clothing and certainly food. Hundreds of people coming through. And now we've got furniture and all these other things. Reimbursed a little, but probably over $500,000 upside down in that.
Wow.
And so that has put us in, I mentioned a challenging situation.
Yeah.
That's the number one reason why we're going through a tough time. So I wanted to come and give you guys the very first announcement. We're doing a Kenny Loggins event on September the 7th, and we're going to invite your listeners. If there's a business or an organization that would like to have a little bit of acknowledgement on television for about 4 months,
Nice.
which could be really beneficial. They can help us sponsor this event to get through this tough time in the summertime that we're going through at Unity, and then we've got this great relationship going with KEYT. We've earmarked out a lot of television time, and we will participate with sponsors for this Kenny Loggins event. I don't need to get into a bunch more, and I don't mean to interrupt all you.
What time and where is the Kenny Loggins event?
It's going to be September the 7th. We're going to have it at the Kenny Loggins Community Event Center, which is where we do our telethon at our building.
Oh, nice.
And so it's going to be a filming. It'll be all day, basically, starting at 2 until about 6.
Good, because they can come to the PAL parking lot before that and participate in the Menudo Festival.
Is that the same day?
Which is the same day.
Wow. What time?
I think we are 9 to 2.
Well, good. We can piggyback
That's what I'm
on
talking
you.
about.
Yeah.
This is what we do on
So they
Sports.
come.
Collaboration.
And
That's
they
right.
support our young leaders who also were impacted. A lot of our kids
Of course.
had to find employment because their parents lost jobs.
Oh, man. And the kids helped out.
And the kids had to help out.
Wow.
And they were still going to high school, and they were still doing their community service. And they, like I've said, them being involved in PAL helped provide them with those leadership skills that enabled them to handle. But PAL became such a safe haven for a lot of those kids during
That's
that time.
great. Well, then the maturity that they gain.
We are.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
very close to each
And the
other.
maturity that they've gained helped them step into those positions of need. That's terrific.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So that was.
I love that.
It really sort of emphasized the need for these type of programs for our kids.
Well, that
So-
just sounds terrific. Let's piggyback. Let's do the two together. Yeah. I love it. I love
Bring
it.
your band out there, no? But he's a big sing. Listen to the voice. You guys sing a little thing.
I was a traveling musician for 15 years.
Oh,
So
really?
what do you play?
I sang with Ernie and the Emperors for about 6 years.
All right.
I'm not real active with it anymore.
You're with-
I may sit in with them at the
All
Grooving in the
right.
Grove car show next weekend.
Grooving in the Grove on the 27th.
Hey, I've had
So-
2 of my cars in the car show in the
Oh,
past.
yeah.
I use them
Not
for
this
weddings. Well,
You got time?
yeah,
You got time?
and you're with the Elks.
There's an entry.
Let me just tell you, the Elks have partnered with Unity for years. It's we had a conflict on the date in December, but we did our motorcycle toy run. Ended up at the Elks
Nice.
Lodge
Yeah.
for years. So it was. This is a
Unity
great
loves
town.
the Elks.
Great
And
town.
You know that.
That's
Put your
it.
hands together.
That's
Unity
it.
just loves those Elks.
What's the date of this? 27th.
So a week from Saturday.
Oh man.
So this year we got some special interest things coming in. We're changing up a little bit.
What time are you doing
Classic
it? All
car,
day?
Vintage travel trailers, antique motorcycles now.
Ooh, good.
And we also have a 400-mile-an-hour streamliner that's going to be on display all day.
Well, this goes till 4 p.m.
Tri-tip sandwiches.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, right before our event is your event, even before your event or about the same time, but yours goes longer. The Woody Show is at
Yeah.
City College. There'll be about 100 Woodies up at City College on the green, and that's kind of a sponsor for Unity Shop too. And I'll send people down to your car show.
There you go.
How about that idea?
I love it. That's what we do here.
Hey, there is so much good stuff going on. You know, Brad Paisley has broken ground in Nashville, opening the second Unity Shop.
Nice.
Is that bizarre? He's been volunteering with us for 8 years. Brings his whole family whenever he's in town. But his hometown, he has a place in Montecito, but his hometown is Nashville. And he told me on the telethon 2 years ago, he said, I've played every major city in America. There's nothing like the Unity Shop, and I want to help my hometown, so I'm going to take this model and open
Well, the
something.
whole thing.
Isn't that something?
We love the food bank and all that kind of stuff. We love everybody that supports the community. But the difference is when you go to the Uni Shop, and Dominique and I had gone through the tour, and I highly recommend anybody, if you haven't been down there, get the tour, okay? Because it's marvelous. You're getting what you want, and it's not what you want,
You're choosing.
you're choosing. You're
Choosing.
making a choice, and it's done with such dignity and grace. And there's people to help you. I mean, it's really kind of like concierge. I'd rather shop at the Unity Shop, to be quite honest with you. People help you. Where's the beans? You can't get any help in a grocery store today. Do you know what I'm saying? Walking up and down. Not that I don't need my steps, because I got a new watch on. I got to do
Oh,
the steps.
right, the
But that's what
steps.
they've done. If you get Home Depot, don't get me started on Home Depot. But we love you. We love you.
Thank you. I
you.
appreciate the time. Sorry for interrupting and taking
No,
time off
good.
you.
Problem.
Not an interruption.
We're thrilled to be connected with you, Erica, and all of
Let's do a
your.
little refresh on some commercials because they're all fresh now. So
Okay.
at the break, we'll take a little break, and we'll get you a nice fresh commercial.
Perfect. Anybody interested? Just Tom at unityshop.org. It's pretty
Tom
simple.
at unityshop.org. This is Erica Soul. We're going to
Hey,
take a
Tom.
break right
Good
now.
to
We'll be
see
back
you.
with more after these messages. We are back, and this is the Santa Barbara Teen Sports Radio Show. I am your host, Erica Salda, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
Every single Tuesday.
Well, he's like worth like a shot of coffee, isn't he? Just like, yeah, he's like, oh.
He's always high
isn't
energy.
he? But I love him.
And such an optimist.
You know, he went through a lot personally, the fire and the flood. And then, you know, you got to still step up and you've got to just do your thing. And I don't know about you, but I remember those times because we used our home as a haven for a family and all their animals, farm animals, if you don't mind me saying. they were farm animals, literally. Okay. We moved them all in. One night, I was like, I don't know, 5 minutes away from sleeping on a pool table, my pool table. It's okay with your pool table. But, you know, I can't let older people not sleep, you know, in the comfort of, like, my bedroom. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, well, this is a full-size pool table. I think, you know, with the proper matting, I think I could do it for one night. I mean, I can't let somebody, like, 80 years old sleep on, you know, a pool table. I wouldn't do that.
No.
Here's your thing. Here's your chalet, pool table. I don't care how nice I make it. It's a slate one, you know, slate nice and
Well,
firm.
then
It's
they
good
fall
if you like
off.
firm. If you like firm,
Yeah.
you're good to go. I don't know. What do you say?
Well, we were talking about disaster preparedness, earthquake preparedness last week. And yeah, you kind of have to think about how adaptable your place and space is, because there are times where we have to help our community out.
Blood. That's what I want to talk about. Anybody have any ideas? I need to call the Red Cross.
Stay away from my veins.
I know. I need to donate. I haven't donated blood in forever. When is the Elks going to have a blood thing? Do you know? We need blood. We need
They just
do you
had
donate?
one
Did you? Did they?
Anapamu, across from.
I have to find one.
I'm so anemic. I don't donate blood.
Huh. Are you a negative or a positive? Do you know what you are?
I'm always positive.
I know.
No, I don't know what.
I'm
actually,
A negative.
I don't know what
I have
am.
that RH negative factor, proving that I'm not from here. Just ouch! Ouch! You just hit me. Okay.
From another planet?
I don't know. I didn't say that.
Oh.
Gosh darn! I got whacked.
Suggested that.
I know.
I have heard that of all the moons satelliting Saturn, they are checking out Titan for life. So
Yeah, right next to Saturn.
Well, all I know is the last time they went for blood, all I got was air. So, there you go.
Okay, so we did a lot of emergency, and there's a couple of people that are going to show today to follow up on the emergency. If we have a quake or something like that, knock on wood. And I know there's still a lot of tremors down there, but let's just do a little shifting. You want to talk communication? Because I want to talk about communication.
Sure. So before the break, we were discussing PC communication.
Oh, this is going to be a fun hour. We're going to keep it, gender. Not personal. We're just going to keep it neutral, okay? Because we're not a political show. We're a show about love. We love this city.
So one of the things that I talk about, because for me, I have, not only do I have students that I'm teaching, and we have many nonprofits that we work with, I also have 5 children. And there are many times that there are topics that will come up right now where there can be emotionally heated topics for discussion, but it's really important for us to have discussion. So one of the things that we've been talking about in our household is it's great to have a conversation with another person and say, hey, I want to discuss this issue. Is there any particular words or way of phrasing things that make you uncomfortable? And just hey, throw it out there and have a conversation about that before you get into the issues. And then try to take a place and space where you're figuring out how are you choosing? How are you, what are the ideas or what are the beliefs that are the formation of your foundation of belief? And go from there rather than personalizing something. So we're just putting that in a PC conversation, is enjoying the sensitivity, but also making safe space to talk. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I got one for you. I can appreciate the issue of being sensitive, but when it starts to cross over into inaccuracy, that's where I start having a problem. You brought up one particular example that at a university says you can't use the word America anymore.
Yeah, and I don't even remember which university.
And it doesn't really matter, but if that's the truth, I'm sitting here going, I'm sorry, but I was born in the United States of America. That's the country. That's the name of this country. Now, if I just said the America, well, you don't know whether it's North, Central, or South America.
And I think that's probably what they're alluding to is that.
But if I say the United States of America, that's accurate.
Right.
So what's wrong with me adding the word America to it?
And I'm assuming that that's probably the case, but I think they're trying to point out a certain kind of sensitivity, not to use just as a generic term, America, and assume that your audience is going to understand that you mean the United States.
Okay, but
I think that was their.
Here's the twist that I get. I remember the controversy over a couple of football teams who were using terms for Native Americans in their name. Their mascot, for example.
Washington Redskins.
Right, exactly, and so forth. I spoke with some Native Americans here in California. They didn't have a problem.
Yeah,
so
that's
it was
kind
like
of
a
funny.
small group that just wanted to get their name on the front page of the paper or their face on the news, and it wasn't the Native American community at large. And of course, my comment to someone who is offended: how long have the Redskins been around? 50, 60, 70 years?
Yeah,
and now you're upset?
It's not intended as derogatory.
No.
Perhaps other people can comment to this. There seems to be, are we going by what a person's intention is, or are we saying that, oh, I know what you mean when you use this word, and I don't want you to use this word?
Yeah.
I mean, there's something strange happening.
Are we speaking for groups on the basis that we know what that group is thinking?
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, we have a hill in Phoenix, and in North Mid Phoenix, and they rolled a freeway right by it, and
Squaw Peak.
Squaw Peak. Now it will always be Squaw Peak to me, but the governor at the time, Napolitano, violating the sort of rule, changed the name prior to the period of time that a former congressman had passed. Normally you wait a minimum of a year before you begin to put their name on stuff, okay? And she changed the name. I think it's now Goldwater something, Summit, or I don't know what. And I don't have a problem with that either. But it's like nobody in Arizona was offended by it being called Squaw Peak, even though that term isn't
now deemed derogatory.
It's now it's deemed derogatory. And so, it's those kinds of things that it's like, okay, it was fine up until just this moment, and now all of a sudden you're upset. Why?
So, and part of this, I think it's literally called revisionist history, if I'm not mistaken, where you take the way that a historical event was described. And I'm in agreement. History is usually written by the victor, so not saying that history is properly recorded, but you're taking history the way it was described, and then you're changing the words out. Like, for example, people are upset at Jefferson now. Yes, he did own slaves. Yes, he did have a relationship with a very prominent woman slave who probably had a lot to do with inspiring him towards the writing of the Declaration of Independence and the founding of our country. It was very beautiful. I mean, there's a lot that we owe towards people that are not mentioned in history, and yet, do we really want to revise our history in this way?
We all have a light side and a dark side, as does our country. I'm offended by those who don't want to talk about our dark side. It's part of what has made us who we are. Just like the foibles of my own personal life have made me who I am. Do I want to go on to that tapestry and pull that thread? No.
So part of a healthy, full education for our students is to give them the good things about our country and the things that perhaps we're not proud
so good.
of, like the Japanese internment.
Exactly.
I'm not proud that we did that.
No. We did it, and we need to own it, but it doesn't mean that we're going to dwell on it for 6 months or 10 years. Just say, we've made some mistakes over the years as a country. Own that, and know that we are rising above that. I find it interesting how in the South they want to remove all these statues, and this is still part of the whole PC thing. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Confederacy. Not a fan because that's not how I'd want to live.
It's still part of the history.
But it's part of the history. Our history.
And it helped shape the nation that we are today.
Exactly. And as an individual, you would tell people, don't dwell on your mistakes of the past, because those are part of what make you who you are today. So
learn from them.
It's exactly learn from your mistakes and understand that they are why you are who you are today. And the United States is nothing different from that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So in this PC world, all I'm recommending is perhaps rather than worrying about being PC, just start out conversations and ask people, hey, is there something that you're sensitive about? Because I'd really love to talk about this topic with you. And I'd like to talk about it in a way that we are together in looking at a problem rather than being on opposite sides of a problem.
Yeah.
And you can be on opposite sides if you're respectful.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing wrong with being on opposite sides of an issue or a topic as long as you're respectful of that other person's voice.
You want to find a hooking
As long
point.
as you don't argue about it.
Exactly.
That's an old adage. Never argue religion or politics, because people take these things to heart.
Personally,
and they're
yeah.
going to get upset. So don't argue about them.
Yeah.
You can discuss them
Exactly.
without getting into a debate.
Yeah, exactly. And the definition of words is really important. And we were talking about how the definition of words changes over time. And this is very true. So it's really good, even though you think you know what a word means, like I'm discussing racism with my kids right now. And even though we think that we understand,
Heated, very heated.
even though we think we understand what it means, we really have to go back, look at how it's being used right now, look at how it was defined in the past, and then clarify what we mean and how we're applying it.
Yeah. And I know, and again, this is, I'm not going down a particular road here, but I know that there's been a phrase that has been used. Why don't you go back where you came from? Well, now wait a minute.
Oh, let's save that for the break.
No, all I'm going to say to that is,
Because I'm giving you the smushy sign.
yeah, the phrase could have been said, why don't you just go home? Well, go home. Go back to the state where, just leave us alone out here. And it is all about the definition of those terms.
Yeah, that
It's a figure of speech, okay?
is,
And
yeah.
this is going from a millennial up to a Gen X, up to a depression baby to a boomer.
Yeah.
We all look at go home
Yeah.
in a different way.
Exactly.
So that's what I try to explain to somebody. Because I talk to Dominique's daughter, Sasha, often. I know what her name is. Why do you, that's the second time you hit me today, okay? But it's like, I am a New Yorker, born and raised, and in one of those impoverished situations. We had food and my parents worked, but it wasn't a good, first 7 years was horrible. I don't have any good memories of it. So then you're trying to be relatable and, being, mind your P's and Q's and everything like that to somebody who's in their 20s, and there's not going to be a lot of hooking points. So you just have to hold space and then listen. But I know she thinks I'm a racist. Just say, and I'm not. That's just joking, just because. And I don't even know how I got into that bucket, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe because who I voted for. And that's probably what it is. It's extended from him to me, okay?
Yeah.
That's all I can understand.
Yeah.
But that word racism has changed how she defines it and I define it, it's not the same.
Yeah.
So we're not going to agree. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, I really hope that kids are talking about this in class and that it's being addressed, because if you keep something like this in a closet, that's when it harms our society.
Yes.
But when we take it out of the closet and say, wow, what do you mean by this and what do you mean by that? So my kids recommended a book. It's actually called White Fragility, and I do recommend reading it. I'm not saying that you're going to agree with the author's stance on racism, but it is an excellent book for helping to understand the sensitivity around the topic. And what we're really trying to do is just wake people up so they keep that in mind. That, hey, is there somewhere where perhaps I'm unconscious and unconsciously participating in some sort of action that is making it harder for other people to have the same access to opportunities that I have?
Yeah. And I'll say this to take it to break, that the one phrase I really do like, and I hear when controversial subjects are brought up, they will usually preface it by saying, look, all I want to do in bringing this up is have a conversation.
Yeah, I like that.
Have a conversation.
I love it. I love
about
it
have
so
a
much.
break?
I'm just jonesing to listen to some commercials.
Okay.
Right now. So let's do that.
Then we'll play some.
Then we'll play some. Thank you.
some.
We'll be back with more after all these beautiful commercials. We are back, and this is the Santa Barbara Teen Sports Radio Show. I'm your host, Erica Salda, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
Every single Tuesday.
every show. I always like to give a shout. And I just can't not give a shout to Something's Good Organic. Put your hands together.
Right.
I love it. We just got our box, and I'm sorry, you asked where the cherry tomatoes and the strawberries, and they're all over my face because I ate them all. So That's a fact.
You know what would make them better? They're
what?
great now, but would make them even better
What?
if the box was edible.
She does. They do such a good job,
They do.
and their CSA program is amazing. So it's easy to sign up. They charge like 2 months in advance or whatever. You can go every other week. They have juice boxes. They have just regular veggie boxes. And if you do the money, since you're getting all organic food, just cut that day. It's. You can't beat it, because you're always going to say, oh, I'm going to get to the farmer's market or whatever. And to support the local grower in that way, then they know how much food to grow. Yeah. So, I really push it. And Carolyn is just, it's just one beautiful person. So I can't say enough about the whole thing.
And you know where it's coming from.
Exactly.
It's fabulous.
Yep.
It
Local
really is.
and organic.
Yeah.
So thank you, Carolyn. Again, every single week, I'm going to be shouting out for you. Okay, let's do words. Okay, my favorite word,
Yes,
we just
ma'am.
did it, is Santa Claus. We should do like a game show. Okay, like what's getting attacked? Okay, what words are getting attacked?
I know, but
Santa Claus.
my daughters had a unique experience growing up, because when Gabriella started kindergarten and Michaela started second grade, they were in the military. Their dad, we were now, part of the military, so they were going to school with everybody. And when you're at a Dodge school, there's a little more freedom in the curriculum. And one of my favorite books that Michaela did at Christmas time was Holidays Around the World. And I'm not talking Christian I'm Christian, proud to be a Christian. I have friends who are Muslim. I have friends who are Buddhist. I have friends, it doesn't matter to
Korean,
me.
Italian,
It
German.
doesn't, yeah. And Jewish, it doesn't matter to me. But she learned about these different significant cultural events. And it's all traditions, and it's all in a book that we would bring out every Christmas. And I think that's part of the issue, is there's this thinking that if my child learns about Arab countries or about Jewish countries, that they now are going to follow that religion. They're going to be brainwashed, instead of understanding the people that come from that area and their cultures and their traditions, and even just personal space based on on cultures is
Right.
different.
Personal space is different between China, Japan, Thailand.
New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, New York is a country.
I
sure.
think and my girls are very open-minded, and they make friends with anybody and everybody. But part of that, I think, them being in the military and being able to experience different cultures and different people from all over, and we tend to say we can't teach our kids about that because they'll become that.
That's
And
really strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I grew up learning multicultural, and I'm a member of the Institute of World Culture, which is here, 1417 Chapala Street. And they're constantly having seminars to help celebrate the world's diversity.
Yes.
Because it is so beautiful. Our diversity gives us many different points of view and many different ways of problem solving.
Right.
And that diversity should be embraced.
It should be
not
embraced.
feared. Homogenizing does not bring about the best in our human society. It is
No.
our diversity that brings out the uniqueness and the beauty of people.
But
Absolutely.
I'm actually not that surprised in one sense, because I've never understood this myself. When I was working, go back to the station back in Phoenix, the Christian station, and of course there was always talk about the gays and this and that and the other, and they wanted to, because they were all out to convert us. And I thought, and the one thing that came to my mind was this, is your sexuality and or your relationship with your partner, male or female, so unstable that you're afraid that these people will break into your home and try to convert you to their sexual preference? Are you kidding me? The politicians do a better job of that on TV and radio and in the newspapers than anybody else could ever do.
Well,
but I've always found that so...
It's a lack
one
of
the-
understanding.
Yeah, it's a lack of
Exactly.
understanding, yeah.
And so when you talk about this, like my mother, I remember we lived next door to a family of Mormons, 9 kids. Okay? And one day I wanted to go to their ward, to their worship service. I wanted to see what it was like.
Their temple. Mm-hmm.
Their temple. And I went. And I came home, and my mother says, I'm sorry, that doesn't count. You now have to go to Mass. Okay? Now, I don't think she was afraid I was being converted, but it was just one of those things back when I was a kid growing up.
Right. That's how it
that
was
was what
back then.
Catholics, you go to Mass every
That's how
Sunday.
it was. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It doesn't count.
Doesn't get you off the hook.
It doesn't get you off the hook. You're going to Mass whether you like it or not.
So it's interesting, the way that I raised my children with multicultural, when they reached their history classes, they did outstanding because they understood the basis of our history really has to do with people's relationship to the divine, how they were expressing it at that time. And
Right.
then they were having wars over different ideologies, which really had to do with owning property and a lot of other politics things. But still, that multicultural diversity helps you understand a lot about our past. And if we don't understand our past, we're doomed to repeat it. That's
But
what
wasn't
we've
that
been
the
told.
point of the pilgrims coming here in the first place?
Well, look, take a walk around Santa Barbara. I mean, I work with primarily low-income Hispanic teens. This used to be Mexico.
Yeah.
We should not be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, look at our beautiful mission, our beautiful courthouse, the beautiful architecture.
Spanish style?
It's Spanish style.
And before that, it was Chumash.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm from the Dakotas. That was Sioux, so it's, and that was in Bismarck, the Fighting Sioux, they had to change that name, and my brother was not happy.
And Chumash is like the oldest, what is it?
I believe they're the oldest ethnic group living on the same land in the entire planet, probably other than Australia. They hold some particular distinction.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we hold a distinction that we have to break.
Take a break. Another break. More new commercials.
More commercials.
I love those commercials.
And then we'll come back with Ed.
That's it. We'll be back with more after these commercials. We are back, and this is the Santa Barbara Teen Sports Radio Show. I am your host, Erica Salda, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
Every single Tuesday.
If you miss us this morning at 9, you could catch us tonight at 11, Sunday at 6, or Monday for that piece of pie. Oh, yeah. 3 a.m. I love that. Okay, Ed, you had an interesting, Ed doesn't, he's present, he's here, then he says something and he wows me. So now you have to say it again. I'm sorry.
You're talking about the PC?
Yes.
So in the last segment, we were talking about political correctness and racism in the same conversation. Mm-hmm. And I have a feeling that it is the overcorrection of political correctness that has caused some of the rise in hate crimes. They've talked about over the past 10 to 15 years in Los Angeles, the number of hate crimes is on the rise. Well, how can that be, and why is that? And I feel it's because of the overcorrectness in the comment that you just made about if you're white, you're by default a racist. Well, of course, that's going to upset people. And I think that's part of the problem, that we need to back off on some of this overcorrection and some of these outlandish statements that are causing resentment.
Well, they're creating a division. So often there's not a division. People are getting along, and then somebody comes in and says, you can't call them that. You have to call them this. And now all of a sudden, we're creating a division where there may not have been a division before.
Creating a chasm within the races that
and is it
may not have existed in that particular group.
And is it not true that when the Africans were brought over here to this country to be slaves, were they not considered? This was just, and again, using your phrase by default, subhuman or less than human.
Well,
history is really weird on that whole part.
Right. But they certainly weren't equal to other white citizens.
Not everybody held that point of view.
Okay.
So that's the difficulty about choosing words and how we're interacting with each other today. I feel like the way that we should be raising our family and interacting with our friends is by the character, by your character.
Yes.
Has nothing to do with your skin, your
Where
culture,
you're from,
nothing.
yeah.
What is the content of your character? Martin Luther King said it perfectly.
And I find if I'm walking down State Street, I smile and I say hi to everybody.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
or I try to, and they'll be like, "Oh," or I'll comment on their outfit,
Yeah.
or my hair doesn't do a whole lot as other ethnic groups do.
Well, neither does mine, so don't worry.
And that
Don't
really
have the
bothers
same
me
barber.
because I want my hair to do those fun things. And so I like acknowledging, that. And the darker the skin, I just am in awe. I'm as pale can be. And it's beautiful too, don't get me wrong. But there's something of
Human beings are beautiful.
they are, yes.
Yeah.
Just
in all
wonderful.
shapes. And I look at the young girls I work, and their hair is thick and black. And I'm like, I want that hair. And I went to a quinceanera, and I've gone to graduation, and their culture is so lively and so family oriented.
The thing that I think we all have to be aware of and be mindful of and not tolerate is when somebody has the control of a narrative. And Ed actually brought this up with, what's going on with Google and what they're allegedly getting cited for, in the billions, all over the world. So I just think as Americans and as people per se, because I know the power of advertising and promotion, and I mean, if you only see certain things a day, and you tailor your life, it's even in my feeds. I get certain feeds that I want, and if you're going to be posting something that, oh my God, you're disturbing me, well, we're going to be friends, but I'm not going to follow you anymore because you're bugging me.
Yeah.
And why do I want to get cranky before I have my first cup of coffee? I mean, because we just don't follow the same principles.
That's right.
But you're
It doesn't
my
mean you
friend.
don't love them.
Yeah.
I do love them, and
That's what I mean.
90% of my friends are like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh God.
And you unfriend them, or you unfollow them for a while. You unfollow them.
No, because I have this issue of how many friends I have. I don't want to go down. I only want to go up.
And
I count. No, what? I lost a friend.
Yeah.
But-
And in reference to the Google allegations, you do know, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, there are other, maybe not as good, search engines on the web. Web crawler, Yahoo.
Instead of YouTube.
Yeah.
There are other platforms.
There are other
We
platforms.
need
It's
to
like
diversify.
I mean,
what a great word.
that's how we started getting more and more organic foods in our stores because people wanted them. The public said we want this, and now we're getting more and more and more of it.
Well, I
so if you
never
don't want
understood-
Google, stop using it.
I never understood why,
Yeah.
they're having all these advertising on Facebook. It's so annoying. The advertising's coming in 1 second or 10, one. I don't even watch it. I'd let it go.
Yeah.
So I only get like a half of a song. It's so stupid.
Or half of a story.
Like half of a
I'm
story.
like, I can't.
I'll catch it later.
done.
I don't want to listen to, and it's usually Chumash. It's usually not Chumash, but it's usually a gambling thing.
Yeah.
And
Casino.
casino thing,
Yeah.
not Chumash. Sorry, love Chumash. I don't want to get all people get all mad at me
No,
because
no.
I said
No,
that.
it's okay.
It's anything gambling. No, I have my own personal issues on gambling. So let's take a break. Okay,
Love
we have
everybody.
a shorty.
Love everybody.
We do love everybody.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what
More
I'm saying to
commercials.
everybody.
Rebel, rebel, put on your dress. Rebel, rebel, your face is a mess. Rebel, rebel, how could they know?
We are back, and this is the Santa Barbara Teen Sports Radio Show. I'm your host, Erica Solda, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in every single Tuesday. Wow.
Wow.
Wow, wait.
What do you mean by
We
that?
don't want to even go there.
What do you mean by
Wait.
that?
Although it's all over the place now.
digressing.
I guess you're supposed to notify somebody if you see a tower going up.
Ah, yes.
So it's because, and then they're listing all the places that they're being outlawed.
Excellent.
Yeah,
There
it
you
is
go.
excellent. Everything's excellent. Everything is wonderful.
Everything's
We could put it up on
wonderful.
Google. What?
On Google.
No.
You could look
We
it
can
up
Google
on
Web
Google
crawler.
if you want.
Web crawler.
And
Yahoo.
you have extensive notes. Tell us more.
Oh, on Google? Well, I looked into this a little bit, and Google is under attack from many different sides. They have a $1.7 billion fine from European Union for antitrust violations. Senator Josh Hawley has brought up the same issues that Ted Cruz brought up in the film that I think we've all watched, where Ted Cruz is grilling a conveniently unqualified representative from Google. And his issue was that Google has immunity from liability under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. And one of the prerequisites to that immunity is that they maintain a neutral public fora. And they obviously haven't done that. And he cited various issues that Veritas, recordings that Veritas is kind of an undercover research group that has gone out and recorded and filmed some of the things that people like Jen Janai, Brad Woodhouse, George Soros have gone in and filmed them, and they are obviously not neutral in their political public fora. So he's saying that they have violated their act, and that's what Josh Hawley was saying. So I kind of, when I read a lot of this, I looked at an old adage that I agree with, and I just brought up, was that never argue religion or politics. So I feel like I have to be careful, because what I'm condemning here is what these people are doing. So in order to condemn them, I have to take on the opposite role, or take on the same role they are from the opposite side. And so I decided not to do that, not to attack them, but to realize that we're all
what we're here today, and as a community broadcast, and what Teen Sports Radio is all about. Number one is love, and number two is just to share. And what I'd like to do right now is to share with Santa Barbara. Hey, we're halfway through the year. Donate. We got PAL in the house. We had Unity Shop in the house. Woo! We got the Elks. We got Braille. Write a check this month. See you next week. God bless.
From the best of loud, with the